Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. We did it. We made it through Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's time for episode 6, One World, One People. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Hey guys, it's Prague.
I don't have an intro this week. This is DeLorean Wolfgang. And this week we do have another special guest for you. We're crossing the streams with this fella. Hey, how about you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you for hyping me up. For anybody that knows me by first name, this is Ryan. If you don't know me by first name, I go by Asian Tony Stark. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Now you're from the Four Dorksmen, which
Yes.
I'm a listener. I know that you guys are coming up to almost 100 episodes. Do you want to just if any of our listeners have never heard of you guys, just give them a little tidbit of what you guys do.
Like the Cliff Notes version of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cliff
Well,
Notes.
kind of in a nutshell, this all kind of started off with the idea of a pineapple podcast, which oddly enough, it all kind of happened around the time we all got to meet together at SDCC 2019, which feels so short yet so long ago. But anyway, like DeLorean was saying, we are approaching our 100th episode. Should be, I think, in the middle of June, if memory serves me right now. We are going to be doing some special things. So if you want to come check us out, it's, let's see, what is our podcast on right now? I can't even remember. Podbean or dorksman.podbean.com is where you can check us out.
Or Cross the Streams Media.
Good plug, yes, that too.
Yes. Because with CrossTheStreamsMedia.com, you can check all of our podcasts out. And you are a Marvel superfan with a name like Asian Tony Stark.
Oh, I don't know about putting me on the soapbox and saying super fan.
Okay.
I mean, yes,
You just
I
did.
like Marvel,
Literally,
and I guess the name kind of implies it as well. But while we dive into the episode here, and I know it's going to circle around the conversation about Falcon and Winter Soldier in episode 6 in specific, as far as MCU type stuff goes, no, yeah, I would say I'm very passionate about it. We'll leave it like that. How's that sound? Yeah.
Nice little
Well
wink and
said.
nod. Let's do it, baby.
Awesome. So, hopefully this isn't your first time joining, but if it is, no problem at all, because why not join for the finale? Because how is this show as a whole? We don't get to just dissect this episode, but the entire series. And so, as usual, we start with our non-spoiler ideas, just so you can get yourself kind of an idea of what we're going to go with without ruining the whole season. So who wants to begin?
Not it.
Should our guest begin?
Hey,
You want me
what's
to
your
begin?
Yeah,
For
what's your
non-spoilers?
non-spoilers?
non-spoilers. General thoughts.
Where should we go from here? I don't know. Thank you for putting me in the spot, but I don't know.
Of course.
Well, okay, so did you like it?
Oh, definitely I liked it.
Okay.
Are we
That's
looking at
kind
in
of
the approach first and foremost when you're telling me like non-spoiler? And forgive me here because I'm trying to get context about where we're going and what avenue we're driving down here.
How about I
Maybe
go
you just
first?
say we won. Yeah, you go first.
I'll go
I'll bridge off of you.
There we go. So, it was definitely an ending to this series. I don't know if I liked it or if I didn't like it. I liked the suit. I thought the suit was great. But all in all, I mean, I'm glad that they wrapped up the story and we can move on. Yeah, I'm done with this show. I'm glad that it's over. I'm ready for something new. I'm ready for us to talk about something different. And yeah, that's roughly my non-spoiler. That's how I feel on the inside about this.
But did they really wrap up the show? You know, without spoiling anything, there are a bunch of loose ends that they tied off, but they didn't really tie it in a bow, in my opinion. There's a lot of unknown, and I think it's been enough time that we can kind of reference WandaVision and, talk about what happened at the end of it. So I'm sorry if, spoiler alert if you don't know what happened there, but there technically is another live Vision now. He's not really dead. So the cliffhanger there was like White Vision flies off and we don't know where he's gone. We don't know what's up with him.
I wish he would have showed up in this series.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been cool. I mean, they were all within the vicinity of the New York, New Jersey area. But as far as like time goes, we don't know when
they happened.
When WandaVision took place as comparison to when this is all taking place. And for context, we don't even know how long the show's events transpired over. Was it a series of like a week, 2 weeks, a month? It kind of felt like a few days, but they never really provided that detail to us either.
Yeah, they didn't give us any kind of clues To say,
Yeah.
hey,
Oh man, that
this
is
was a
kinda
year's worth of events.
Well,
Yeah.
WandaVision felt like you just said a few days, right? And let's just say this one felt like maybe a year or two. So that means
I don't think it was.
White
I
Vision's
don't
been
know.
kind of floating around for a year thinking, I guess I could help out these other superheroes because I've got memories of them.
Hmm.
Or I could just continue to not show up anywhere until the
But I
next movie.
do think that this was supposed to happen before WandaVision. That was my
The
takeaway when
episodes,
this
but not the
originally happened. Right.
context of the
I don't know
show.
when the event. I don't know. So I
So
don't
what
think
about
that
you,
these
Brock?
shows are necessarily meant to cross the streams, so to
No,
speak.
Oh.
I think they're meant to be standalone, character-driven stories, and then the movies would then become those things. So, anyways, so my takeaway of this finale is it kind of felt like WandaVision's finale, which is, I mean, I loved WandaVision as a series, but I felt like the finale was kind of fumbled a bit and rushed. And I felt the same way with this. Like it had great moments that were all kind of like rushed, fumbled, and weird. I do feel like this was a little bit more paint by numbers, but at least they stayed in the lines. So yeah, there were some really kind of fun, big moments here and there that I actually really kind of enjoyed. Like I really liked it. And I'm like, wow, I wish this was the show the whole time. Everything else just felt like really awkward. Like just a lot of awkward stuff here and there.
Yeah.
So it was it was just an okay finale. Like there's no surprise. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. It was nothing like that happened in this. It was just, this is a cool little like, visual reveal here and there and little character moments. But yeah, nothing stood out as a like a big series finale. This felt like, yeah, I guess a season finale, just a generic one.
You didn't have the jaw drop
I
moment.
think. Right, there's no jaw
No.
dropping moment, which is fine, I
Throughout
guess.
the
I was expecting it.
entire series.
No, but that's fine. It was just okay. I had my Marvel, I had my what I would call MCU moments, and I did enjoy those moments in the episode. But once again, it goes. My whole beef with this series has been a lot of the writing and editing has been kind of
Agreed.
sloppy.
Yep.
So that's it.
While I enjoyed the
my take.
content of the episodes, and I think I stand alone between our podcast on the Dorksman because we did record recently and we talked about this on our most recent episode, and I think you guys kind of feel the same way where there was a lot to be taken up here that was missing. I agree 100%. The writing lacked, story lacked, but one thing I'm very confident in Feige and with Marvel over the last 11 years is the picture that they've painted for us. And we know that there's going to be Easter eggs referenced here that we won't fully understand until a year or two down the line.
Of course.
Like Age of Ultron, this is something I brought up on our podcast when we recorded, is that nobody really caught on to what Fury was saying at the time about now here we are back on Earth with only our wits and our will to survive. Nobody caught on to the fact, of course, now that Fury is really on the moon. Or, I'm sorry, orbiting space in the sports station, right? And diagonally cut bread, which they referenced in Captain Marvel.
Yes.
It's like, it's all those little things that I think 2 years from now, in the middle of Phase 4, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, they made reference to that there. And it's the smallest crumb of an Easter egg, but it's still going to matter.
So I think that's more of a Feige thing. I think that's less of a showrunner thing. I think the showrunner wasn't necessarily doing that as much as Feige was because he's the master puppet here,
Yep.
Anyway,
Okay.
Sorry.
Trevor, do you have a non-spoiler?
Sure. I'm glad the show is over. I echoes Prague sentiments a lot. My biggest problem is the parts with Sam and his suit are good. The parts where he's not in his suit and street clothes have not been good the entire series. And everybody else, like, I don't care about Sharon. I don't care about Bucky. I don't care about any of the other. I don't care about Carly. It just, you kind of tune out. Like the other episodes, I was actively taking notes. This one I took the fewest notes with because it just didn't make me care. And I was worried that on Friday, Marvel said, meet the new Captain America. On Monday, they're like, here's all the new posters. Here's all the new toys. Look at our big new Captain America.
Check out Twitter. Yay. Our banner
they
on
announced
Twitter.
Captain America 4. And I'm like, I don't care to see this really anymore. Because as I'm watching, they're like, okay, he's given me more Iron Man vibes than he's given me Captain America vibes. And that's perfectly fine, but I'm not excited to see what he does next. It feels like they have to water down any kind of a enemy he goes against.
I get what you're saying because he's not the old Captain America. He doesn't have the serum within him. And I get what you're saying with the Iron Man references because, I mean, without spoiling anything for this most recent episode, he does fly around. And he has
and
wings.
uses advanced tech. And
and he has the HUD and all that stuff. He has Red Wing, most of which probably came from Stark originally.
Yep.
You know? Oh, I'm sure all of it did because he can't even make his boat work.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's all Stark Industries.
I was just so disappointed that they left me not caring of some monumental character transition that they're doing because they're building it up, the idea of a Black Captain America. That's the core idea of this show and what that means to our greater society as a whole. But they didn't do anything beyond that to make me care about what he's going to do next. Like, that's a big deal. But now what?
Right.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of Black Panther, I mean, he goes back to Oakland and said, "Hey, I bought this whole neighborhood. We're going to revamp this. This is going to be a place where we're going to do things." And I didn't really see that echoed here.
Well, I think the other thing we need to keep in mind, though, is if you compare, and you know, it's hard for us really to compare the movies to the shows because right now we only have the one to compare to. I don't really count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. within the premise of this whole overall arcing discussion because that was a cinematic series over the course of years and years and years, episodic over weeks at a time. Whereas with WandaVision, we had 9 episodes. They had this was their first shot at doing something like this, and it felt really rushed. It really should have been like at least 12 episodes for them to really dive deeper into the story.
Oh God. If I had any more montage scenes of watching that thing bounce off of trees, oh good Lord.
I'm not so much talking about that though, but it's like the underlying story about, and this is also me thinking about it from a perspective of like Iron Man 3, because a lot of people just bash on the movie. I was going to cuss, but I don't know if you guys want me to do that. So I'm just going to say bash in the movie there. But it was about Tony's character growth. And I feel like that was part of this show, is showing the backstory of Bucky and his demons per se, which is what Tony kind of battled through in Iron Man 3 and giving some depth to him as a character. And he's not just the Winter Soldier. It's more on his path towards becoming, quote unquote, Bucky again. So that's why I'm saying I wish we would have had more episodes, because I think the story would have flowed a little bit better, and it wouldn't be so choppy.
See, I would counter that though. I actually agree with you, but I would invert that a bit and say, instead of filling it with all the random stupid stuff about the Flag Smashers and Sharon Carter, and fill it with just the scenes with Bucky and his therapist and dealing with that in real life situations in those 6 episodes, and you would have had a better, tighter show. If you expanded it out, it would have been just more
in a way.
Yeah, but then the focus would have been on Bucky, not on Sam.
Or even change it and have 2 shows. I mean, Falcon deserved his own show, and Bucky deserves his own show, and
Wyatt Russell did too.
Right.
You could do a show about Sharon, honestly, becoming the power broker over the past 5 years. Spoiler. But we knew that after episode 3.
But do we? They didn't specifically state that.
Yeah, I know.
That's true. I mean, that's one of those. That's one of those things that's left on the table. We don't know that for fact yet.
It's not really the Mandarin. I mean, it's not really the power broker.
It wasn't Mephisto.
Definitely wasn't Mephisto, unfortunately.
I mean, I feel like she is, but at the same time, they haven't really fully confirmed that, nor will they until later.
True. Well, since we're talking about spoilers, we should probably talk about our social.
Let's get into it. Okay, well, before we get into it, make sure you guys go over to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Go over to iTunes and what did we do on iTunes? Yeah, we rate and review our stuff. Yeah, well, of course. I know. I was getting there. I know that it was a question, but it was rhetorical.
I was answering for the audience.
You're right. You were the audience. I was trying to be like those little kid shows where they say, "Now where's the bucket?" Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you?
So make sure you do all those things because, and make sure to go over to crossthestreamsmedia.com and follow them on Instagram and stuff because you're going to be able to follow all the other podcasts that are part of Cross the Streams Media, like our friend over here with the Dorksman. You can follow the Dan Aykroyd show, and you know what? The Movie Gap, which I believe my episode with the Movie Gap is going to be coming out fairly soon. I'm very excited because we review Fast Times at Ridgemont High, one of my favorite movies. And okay, so anyways, all this is free for you, and it's priceless to us. Spoilers, baby. Let's do it.
Nice. Let's do it.
Awesome. So I know everyone's been spoiled by how awesome our podcasts have been on this show and just really telling it like it is because sometimes you need to hear that.
YouTube's giving us
punches.
Thumbs down on our last episode, so yeah, let's keep going.
Doing something right.
So this episode opens with the Flag Smashers. Carly's doing her little talk or whatever, and it continues right where episode 5 ended with the Red Alert.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes.
And yeah.
And I have the same sentiment that you guys have when it comes down to Carly. Like, literally, she was the first face that you see, and my eyes rolled in the back of my head. I'm like, ugh, really already? Like, give me a little bit of action before you give me her.
Give me something else.
Give me something else.
Her in her storyline.
What about more flinging the shield at the trees? You want that?
Oh, okay.
That's action.
He does.
Okay, see? Then retract your statement, sir.
Yeah, I'll retract. I don't know.
And plus, it was a rehash. It was the same speech she already gave. They just redid it.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
I think she just
make
said
a
it
new
with
speech.
a little bit more conviction this time around.
Yeah,
you
of course.
Yeah.
They did not develop Carly's character at all. This is defined at the end of this episode, but they could not have made a least interesting villain character.
So, and that was the interesting thing is that you said, Ryan, is if they did make this a 12-episode run, they could have possibly fleshed out the Flag Smashers, fleshed out Carly. I know that they tried to, in more of a rush sense, like having her have the woman who died and somehow caring about all this. I believe we talked about it before that they gave no backstory on her either. I mean, they did, but it was so like, if you blinked your eye, you missed that whole scene.
Yeah, it was all a reference to the blip, more or less. I mean, that's the root of it.
Yeah, but it didn't really go into much more. Now, I do know, because I heard from another podcaster that they had filmed a lot of stuff that they had to cut for the series, so that might have caused some issues with the pacing, which makes sense. So I'm like, this is really oddly paced, especially for an MCU story.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. Like, they felt like there was stuff missing, and there were stuff missing because they were dealing with like a pandemic on the show, and they didn't want to reference that, So it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, because I thought I read somewhere, or heard somewhere that there was supposed to be something that was more like quote unquote virus-like, but they had to kind of rework things because of the way that COVID just took over the world back last year. And it would have been very insensitive for Disney to approach things in such a light. So they had to kind of restructure things. I don't know that for fact. Take that with a grain of salt.
This is all rumor that we've heard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like
That's
wrestling at straws to make excuses for a bad show, but
could be.
Disney likes to course correct. Oh my God, we're getting bad fan reaction to this. Like, other than all the people who love Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so, and this whole, like, getting back to the episode.
Stackies. That's what they're called.
This week on the Stackies. That should have been the name of our podcast. Come on, guys.
The Stackies.
Right?
The Stackies.
Yeah.
Write it down, Ryan. Reference to your show.
Yep.
Let's see. So within 2 minutes and 50 seconds of this episode, Sharon shows up in America.
That was the scene. Okay, good. When you texted me
scene.
that, I'm like, I bet you that's Sharon's scene, because that was the worst scene in probably MC history.
So what is it? So Bucky's walking through the barrier, and he walks right back, and they go, Sergeant Bucky or whatever, like Lieutenant Bucky. I don't know. He had some rank, General Bucky or something like
Sergeant Barnes.
So he got to go through the barrier, and then all of a sudden, this dude who's wearing a beanie cap and a trench coat walks up. Hey, you! And he turns around, and then she whips off the mask, And then he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get caught." She goes, "Don't worry, nobody's looking for me here."
Right?
Why were you wearing the mask?
Why were you wearing it to begin with?
And how did you get beyond the barrier, past all those guards, past the hundreds of
My
guards?
issue wasn't with that. My issue was with her line delivery. It was so awkward. It was like, it's me.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah,
we
she
don't.
pulls up. It's
Thanks.
me. And then she goes, "Don't worry, nobody's looking for me here."
But you know what this does confirm, though?
Stupid.
Well, I mean, again, not 100%, but it makes me feel like this confirms that she's not a Skrull. Because if she were a Skrull, she wouldn't need the mask,
Right? Why would she need the mask?
right?
Of
Because a
course.
lot of us were
Or-
thinking that this is on the route to Secret Invasion. So if it is in fact going that way, are there any Skrulls that are involved in this show as any of the characters? I personally, I thought that she could have been one, but that debunked my theory.
And she still could be. She could have been using that to throw them off the scent. Like, hey, why else would I use this
It's
device?
true. It's true.
Oh yeah, it's
Don't
a
worry.
triple turn.
Triple turn. I'm
Hey,
trying
we're-
to help
you know what?
MCU out. I'm
Yes,
trying.
we're doing exactly what we did with WandaVision, where we're looking way deeper into this stuff than we
You got to
really
take
should.
everything at face value. This show is a face value show,
Absolutely.
Really is.
even if
As
it's
I
a
said,
fake
stand
Mission
by numbers.
Impossible face.
Yep. Anyways, we get past that horrible scene.
Right, and so then we get Falcon intro, and this was pretty badass. I have to admit that was
So the
pretty impressive. To
MCU
throw the
scene-
shield through. Yeah, this was an MCU
Well done.
scene.
Good job. They know how to do that stuff. And
Yep.
it's always done well. You throw the shield through the window first, you come in, pick it up, suit reveal, boom.
Oh,
Who
dude,
are you? I'm
suit-
Captain America.
Dude.
Bitch.
Oh,
Steve, I didn't say that.
chef's kiss on that suit. I really liked that suit.
Oh, it is comics accurate. They're really diving
Yeah.
into that. With
Yeah.
Wanda, now this, I think they're like, you know what? We're done with all the other stuff. Let's give everybody what they have in the comics and let's see how it sticks. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not going to work. Who cares? Just do it. You know, they have
When
enough money.
the
I don't
X-Men
think
show up.
do it. Comics accurate. Let's go.
Comics accurate Wolverine, dude. I want to see some yellow spandex.
Yep.
You do realize if you had a comic accurate Wolverine, he'd be like my height, 5'4".
Yeah, be short.
yeah, dude.
Stocky as hell.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Be
You
great.
should try out for the part.
I don't fit the stocky build. Sorry, dude. I'm like 140 soaking wet.
Have a couple hot dogs. You'll fill in.
Yeah, I am too. Anyways, good reveal.
Snake.
Comes in, tells people what's what.
Yeah, he fights the guy from episode 1.
Yeah,
Yep.
GSP.
They have a little chair fight. But the one thing I didn't like about the scene was that the whole scene was in red, so you couldn't see well. Like I was like, I mean, I'm old, but I'm like squinting at the TV. I'm like, it's so washed out. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. I kind of wish that wasn't.
I will not be commenting on the stunt work this week
Yeah.
because right once the stunts started happening, I was like, all right, well, it's just going to be a whole bunch of cuts. I can go do the dishes or something at this point.
And it was a whole bunch of cuts.
Seriously, like they cut to the evacuation. Like literally, they're fighting, and then Bucky's talking to Carly, and they're two relatively important things, and they're showing people running down the stairs and board onto a van.
Into the back of the vans, yeah.
I know. And they could even show the chair hitting the shield. They had to do a close up of that. I'm like, that would have been cool to see wide, you know, to see him like kick the chair over to the shield. Moment. That would have been better. But that's okay. It
Well,
happened.
this fight scene took forever too. This was half the
Yeah.
episode. Half the episode was this whole.
episode.
No, it really was. Half the episode was this action scene.
It took a while.
It was too drawn out.
Yeah.
And
It was-
literally, when
It
he's
did- it
fighting
did a
this guy,
disservice. Yeah.
he's just knocking. Like he literally knocked him away just so he could fly off. Like he could have flown off anytime. He has falcon wings. It was so
And he'd be
weird.
like, I'm done with this. Bye.
Well, that was my thought. I'm like, well, hold on. You could have done that the whole time.
He's
What-
on the
what
window
was
side
he
of the room too. He didn't even have to get past the guy to get to the windows.
He didn't even have to break another window. He already had a broken window he flew through the first time.
I would have written the show and been like, sorry, I got jet.
Oh, good line.
Hire me. I'm here.
And then there was a fist fight. He literally has wings and a shield, and they spent time with a fist fight.
It's because he's a UFC fighter. They wanted to show off the hand-to-hand combat. That's all.
Then have him fight Bucky.
Right?
Mm.
No?
Have him fight without cuts.
And that too.
Sorry.
And then
We
this
look good.
time,
Go ahead.
Sharon also kills somebody. She uses mercury vapor to have the guy's skin like melt off.
Yeah. If you didn't think she was a villain before, well,
Well, here's a thought from left field for me, and
Okay.
I think I read or saw another YouTuber was talking about this, but
whatever's my theory. Yeah.
I want to stretch and say that maybe, just maybe, because of recent reports about like sharing between Sony and Marvel, do
Well,
you
you're
think in
saying that
any, yeah, right, Oscorp?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's green, it was green vapor.
I think
And
this is the
that
first time, the
lock
first
thing
clue.
that Bucky had to knock off on each of the back of the vans had 8 spokes on it.
Yeah.
So that could be a subtle nod to Doc Ock, possibly.
There you go.
You know.
All right, hold on.
And
hold
these
on.
are
I
these
know I've got
small
it
little
somewhere.
Easter eggs that I don't know if it's meant to be there for a reason.
Right. It could be like the
if
one
it's
division
fans
thing.
like us that
like,
are stretching
here's
for
here's a wink
something to grab
this.
onto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know I've got a tinfoil hat somewhere in here. Let me just.
And the
Put that out.
gas ball was green as well. The one that they used
Yes.
for the meeting. Yeah, also
Yes.
glowed green. So
Yes. It resembled the look almost to a T of what you would expect a Green Goblin grenade to look like. So when I saw that, I'm like,
Exactly.
whoa,
Wow,
whoa,
I didn't even think about that.
Wait a minute.
and it would make sense for her to work with them if she's getting all these government secrets for tech weapons and stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's actually kind of
as she's walking
interesting.
off at the end, she's talking about like government secrets, getting the heads up on advanced weaponry. I'm like, this is like just giving me more and more fuel for this fire that I want to follow. But I don't know.
I want what's after. I don't really want the show. I like everything they're hinting at for
Yes.
other movies.
Which is what I was talking about on our podcast. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
there was good parts about the show. There's a lot of bad, but I'm looking forward to what's to come and the Easter eggs that they're planting now that are going to come to fruition in like a year or two.
Well said. Yeah.
Damn.
That kind of echoes what Dwayne was saying as well. He just happened to like the show a lot more.
That just made this so much more interesting.
It's not worth it.
But
Trevor's like, no.
it really
No.
isn't. No,
I don't
absolutely.
care what the payoff is. You can't
No.
put me through treatments like this.
I agree. I totally
No more
agree.
treatments.
But imagine if they started the show off with these little hints rather than waiting for the very last episode to start getting all these little hints of
There's
of
other
Doc
hints.
Ock and stuff.
I don't even care to look because when your eyes glaze over because they say such idiotic things and there's no character development, you can't see any Easter eggs. Your eyes are completely glazed over.
Eyes over,
Hey,
behind
hey, Trevor, if you're scared, it means you're doing something right. I just want you to take that to the grave with you, okay? If you're scared, you're doing something right. Okay, let's move on.
Graveyard scene.
So this is the sequence where we get to see a helicopter pilot like it's Falcon himself. There's no helicopters that can maneuver like that. That was so idiotic for like
Ethan
5
Hunt
minutes.
is the only one that can do that. There's
Oh
no
no,
one
this
else.
is this is where the cartoon starts.
Yeah. But that's okay. It's fun. I allow it for this kind of stuff. I'm like, you know what? Dude, fine.
It's okay. It's fine.
Entertain me. Here I am.
It's not entertaining though. It's just too goofy.
It's goofy. Anyways, what happens in this part? I forget this part. Is this the part where he shows up with Red Wing?
Yeah, Red Wing is tracking the
Okay.
people that are in the helicopter, scanning faces to see if anybody actually can pilot a
That's right.
helicopter. Yeah.
Okay.
He does have that slick move where he gets the guy out of the pilot seat of the helicopter.
Oh,
He
that's the
throws
second.
shield through.
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
the
that was-
second time that yeah.
That
Comes later, right?
Yeah.
It
that's the
does?
second. Yeah, that's the second helicopter scene. I watched it a few times because I like that
I don't know
scene
if
where
you
he threw the
caught on to it, but when Red Wing is scanning everybody, when that lady comes up, I can't remember her name for the life of me now, but it showed up as her being I think she's Filipino for one, and it showed that she could pilot 2 different types of choppers, one being I don't forgive me if you're in the military, but the double rotor one,
color.
the dual rotor.
It did.
Yeah. So it proved to Sam at the time that she was capable of handling the stress because she would have known how to fly a military helicopter.
Right. That was like, fishtailing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, hold on, and she was in the back seat, right?
middle.
Behind the pilot.
Yeah, she was right
behind the pilot.
Yeah.
So
there. Yeah, easy access.
I suppose when we get to that scene, because for what I do for work is I go up in helicopters from time to time to shoot video. Now I'm watching the pilot. He's full on using his feet and the joystick. It's not just straight joystick. He's got to keep his feet on the pedals at all times. So if that pilot bounces out, I mean, I don't remember if she jumped into the front seat immediately or if she just grabbed the joystick. But I mean, that would almost be impossible. That helicopter would just start going into a tailspin almost immediately.
It's definitely impossible. But
Yeah.
I mean, everything's impossible in the MCU.
Oh, that's true.
Show.
There is a man just flying
you gotta
right outside.
You gotta give it some breaks. Just saying.
But isn't this the scene where he like flies right up to it and then holds on to the side of it and his wings retract in? I thought that was pretty cool looking.
Anything he does, it's cool.
I had 6 lines and notes. And so when you said that you were talking about the helicopter, I thought we were skipping all of these sequences. But somehow all these sequences happen at the same time.
Well, they all happen the same, yes. But they are shown differently throughout the episode.
I mean, you brought up the guy jumping out of the plane, so I figured, well, I'll just piggyback off that at this point.
No, it's just amazing that he's tracking this helicopter, and at the same time, Carly's followers question her. Bucky motorcycles into the guy. Walker shows up and fights Carly. And then finally, Bucky fights some more, falls down into the shaft, and then we get back to the helicopter sequence. Like, the helicopter sequence, I didn't know it lasted for like an hour or something.
No. They do happen somewhat together. We're just saying that there's 2 different scenes there. There's one. Never mind. I forget.
But there's time in between.
There's a short time in between. Not those big scenes. There's another.
No, all those scenes happen until we go back to the second sequence with the helicopter.
Yeah, where the pilot gets blown out. Yeah.
What is that guy doing in the air? He's just like flying around. Let's take a tour.
I didn't know Falcon was chasing him for so long. They were doing New York tours. This is like $130 an hour.
That's the difference between Captain America and this Captain America. Is Captain America would have made the plan way before in the first time they get up there. This one's like, okay, while all this other stuff's going on, I'm making a plan. Okay, hey, count to 5, and then I'm going to blow this guy out of here.
He had 12% of a plan.
Like it. Okay. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad one of you guys
got it. It's supposed to be a 3-hour tour. Why are we still up here?
Okay.
He was looking for whales in the Hudson. That's what it was.
There you go. So what does happen next? Then we cut back down.
It's the Carly. Her followers question Killing and dying and they're like hesitant, and then we have motorcycle Bucky. He literally launches off the motorcycle into the guy, and that's a pretty sweet sequence, actually.
No, this was so dumb because if you're the guy, he's standing there watching Bucky come at 45
he took it like a champ. Oh yeah, he's like, bring it.
He literally had to do this and watch Bucky go whoosh.
Oh no, he's ready to take it like the Joker. Come on.
Oh God, he would have. So stupid. This is so stupid.
He Jokered him. It was great.
So they fight for a while, and then Walker shows up, and Carly says the great line, "I didn't mean to kill your friend. I don't want to kill non-important people or something." It's always good to tell somebody who's mourning about someone who matters to them that I didn't mean to kill some non-important person.
Are you saying Lamar didn't matter? She knows how to fire a guy up.
Again, this guy, I love every time he's on the screen.
He's the best.
This is when we get to see his fake shield suck, and he lumbers really slowly after Carly for this sequence.
But it's so adorable. I mean,
his cosplay Captain America.
He made his cute little shield, and he's in his Captain America cosplay. That's adorable. Really? But you know what? He sees his Medal of Honor, and he's like, "This is giving me the strength."
Yep.
This is giving me the strength
to carry on. Love it.
Yeah.
Should be a
but
theme
now,
song. Anyway.
It is funny. Ryan, I was listening to your podcast earlier, and your other fellows made a good point that all of a sudden now, like he's now a good guy again. Like an episode before, he was trying to kill Bucky and Falcon, and then this episode, he's like, "Well, I've got to fight next to you."
No, I mean,
Yeah.
this whole scene was him coming to terms with, oh, do I become that person that the government was training to me, or do I become something else, something better, like Captain America? So he's
Right.
in that mode the whole time, and I think they realize that he has made that decision because he saves the truck from falling over the edge.
Right.
So the
Which-
team is
Oh.
like, okay, we accept you now. That's fine. We get it. You made a mistake. Let's move on from this. We still don't necessarily like you that much, but we'll work
Yeah,
together.
he's putting others before himself, which is what, one of the values, in my opinion, of what Captain America should be. So,
Right, yes.
I think what the other guys were kind of missing in all of that too is that the serum, it was like being amped up on the juice, right? At the time, he had just gotten it. He was doing all his ticks and stuff, and his body wasn't fully liberated with it yet. So when he had the chance for him to calm down, for the adrenaline to rush out, and for him to understand what he had done, understand his decision making and the repercussions of it, and also him having some self-evaluation in a sense, and him going before the panel and seeing, like, I was the soldier that you guys trained me to be. I was following.
And now you're mad at me, right? It's like, what?
Now you're giving me the finger, kind of thing. I did this for you guys, and he was only doing what he thought was right, which is an ongoing thing within the MCU, right? We talk about Thanos being a villain. Is he really a villain? Is Carly really a villain? One of the things we brought up on our podcast is, who's the real villain of this whole show? In my opinion, it's not Carly. She was doing what she thought was right, so she's more of like an anti-hero in my mind.
She was maybe the antagonist for this storyline, but she might not be a villain per se. Yeah. Sure, I see that.
Real villain, I think, would be like the government.
That's what I was thinking. But
that's real life. That's real life.
It is. It's too much like real life. Stop it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Anyways,
all
right.
They modeled their government off of our own, so yeah, I guess it works.
Mm-hmm.
That the story writes itself. Just get some guy to fly and one guy with a metal arm, and hey, you got real life.
We didn't have anybody orange in there, though. Ironically, there was no Cheeto.
That's true.
We're not gonna go there, though.
There wasn't. No Cheeto Puffs. That would have been funny if there's a state Cheeto Puff man in New York City. Sorry. What's the next scene?
So where are we at?
Too much. Trevor, sorry about that.
Bucky's able to get them free from the fire.
Took a while. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
I actually kind of like that scene because he said to get away from Bucky, she says, find someone for him to save. Yeah. And so that's where they lit the bus on fire. And I thought, okay, that totally makes sense because he's gonna stop fighting them to go save people.
Now here's my issue though, like that is a good line, but a bad delivery, like a poor delivery. Like that line said by somebody else would have been a lot better, and that might have been the director's fault, the actor's fault. I'm not too sure, but it was a great idea. Like obviously the antagonist knows the weakness, right? Like a hero needs to save people, and I need to go away. Here, put somebody in danger. So Lex Luthor, it's great.
Yeah, I thought that was great. It just
kind of fell flat a bit, in my opinion.
Speaking of falling flat, one of the people who was saved says, "Thank you for saving us." And it just felt so awkward, like she just showed up on set. She doesn't know what she's doing. And Bucky
There's a lot of those awkward
"You're welcome"
scenes.
after they leave or something.
There's a lot of those awkward scenes, yes.
Bucky's heart grew 3 times that day.
Yeah.
When you watch his face, you can see his heart grow. Me? I saved you?
Aw, Bucky.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, lots
I bet he could lift the sleigh. I bet he could.
Yeah.
He too. Could also slay with the ladies.
Hey, with the picture that's behind you? Yeah.
Where does he this way?
Team Bop.
That's right.
For the fans watching on YouTube, probably cut his hair.
I did.
Okay.
So now Bucky kicks butt for a few seconds, and then he falls down into the construction site, and then Falcon gets knocked off into the container ship, and so this is that temporary down for a second, but they didn't even give it time for that being down for a second and have to come rise back. Like literally, they rise back in the same shot.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. I was like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? Oh, never mind.
Well,
okay.
This gives the opportunity to the Flag Smashers to go underground again.
Underground.
They get away, and then the next scene, they're like, "Hey, we're underground. Like when he says that, I'm like, you're not in a park. What are you talking about? Right. Never mind. That's a callback to a different episode.
That's right. Anyway.
And so now Falcon, he comes back after all the stuff falls into the ocean. And he says, boy, you just earned this ass whooping. And this felt stilted and awkward as well. Like, I understand what they're going for, but it seems like, what? Are you talking into your radio
Who's
mic?
listening to you? Who's hearing you say that?
Did you tell Red Wing this?
Oh, that'd be kind of cute. He did. Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one, Falcon. Let's go ass whooping. Sorry. Okay. Oh wow.
But this is where he does that cool maneuver. This is the
yeah. This is the slick shield maneuver into the helicopter.
Yeah. Which is funny because you don't really need to do what he did, but it's still cool looking. Like you could have just took the shield with him the whole time, but like, it was still cool seeing him come back to him and punch through.
Him with the shield and the wings in this episode was good every single time.
Yeah,
there's just all this other stuff.
Yeah, I know. It was a well-designed suit. Those wings look great. They kind of reminded me of like Archangel from the X-Men. That kind of design where he has the metal wings that go all the way up. Oh, so nice.
I like the fact also that, you know, the part where he jumps down, he protects the dude. So the wings protect him, and then there's that one little spot above him where the shield kind of like mounts. So it's like one whole thing together. Fit. Yeah.
Almost like a little tomb.
Yeah, if you want to go dark, yeah.
It's a protective tomb.
That's right.
I don't know.
Right,
I don't know what
I think it was more, it's like symbolic of the unity between the wings and the shield.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's
the way
a good look when the helicopters crash and he stops it all.
Yeah, Wakanda sure knows how to develop and design great products.
Yeah, they're like, we see your stuff and we're going to make it better. And so I have a question. Since they could deactivate Bucky's arm, can they deactivate now Falcon's wings?
That'll be hilarious.
Does Wakanda control both of them now?
Nope. Yeah. It's all flying to get somebody.
It's all pressure points.
Yeah.
Wakanda's building their own army by here. We'll outfit you with the best tech.
But we know how to disarm you. So, you better be careful how you use it. Yeah, interesting.
So this is where we get to Walker trying to pull back the truck. He gets knocked off, and luckily Falcon is able to do his Shazam moment and pushes the truck back up.
Get knocked down.
Okay, so this was a little janky to me because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Falcon does not have super soldier serum, correct?
Correct.
Right, he was just using the power of the wings.
Hey, yep. I get that he's using the power of the wings, but he was holding it like this, and he lifts the truck up with his arm to move his head to the other side.
He was bench pressing. Did you see him do the montage? He was doing all those.
He was definitely bench pressing this giant truck, and that, I mean, does he have jets on his elbows going just so we could?
I don't know.
There we go.
They might be invisible. Maybe he's working with Wonder Woman as well.
Maybe there's some sort of like Wakandan like exoskeleton thing built into this.
Exactly. See?
So he is the new Iron Man.
Yeah, he is.
He's like a hybrid. I mean, it's very Iron Man-esque in this scene where he's helping Peter in Spider-Man. So he has his two little drones that are actually pushing up with him. So it's very Iron Man-esque.
Well, the drones don't come out at that point because what I'm talking about is the little bench press, he moves his head type of thing. It's almost like he has super serum where he's able to hold it himself. And then all of a sudden those things go deactivate and plop on there. And yeah.
He's strong, man.
That was just one of the things that I noticed that I was kind of like, well, that just was kind of silly.
Or instead of him pushing it up, maybe he's pushing himself out from it. And that way he's turning. That seems more of a realistic thing to me.
Yeah. Well, you know, whenever I do push-ups, I'm pushing the world down and just bringing it back up to me. That's
not everybody's as strong as you, though. You know.
I get it.
That's all your time spent around the plutonium, man.
That's right.
It's the DeLorean. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Sam's out here thrusting and busting.
Right, and so this is the fun sequence where now they're all down. Like, so he saves the truck, and then they're all down in the pit, and he throws the shield. It ricochets off of everyone, which that was pretty good. And this is also convenient that everyone on Earth, or at least everyone who lives in New York, came out to go to this construction site and watch from up above. Like, wasn't there like a fire and there's all these cops out and they have barricaded the streets, but there's so many people on the top of this construction site looking down. It looks like it's like the start of some like WWE ring or something.
Party time.
Well, is this supposed to be this Flag Smashers from the app, like the zombie Flag Smashers?
Could be.
I don't know. It looked like a bunch
They never
of people were
told
just
us.
cheering
Yeah,
on
it was just
Falcon.
random
The
people.
one guy said, "Oh, awesome job."
Oh,
Falcon.
the terrible scene.
Oh, that's true. Oh my God. Oh.
And he's like, "That's Captain America."
Oh, that's Black Falcon.
That's Black Falcon. No, that's Captain America.
That's Captain America.
Yeah.
It's like written by a 5-year-old. Okay.
We have all these people, just New Yorkers, came out. They just knew what was happening. They have a different app where it's like superhero sightings.
Yeah. Where's the Avengers today?
Trending on Twitter. Make sure you're there.
So now,
is this about the point where they go underground to go find?
Yeah, they shoot all. The one guy shoots all the smoke bombs, and so they can get away. But then Falcon can track them.
When that happened, the first thing I thought was, finally, Mephisto.
Finally, but no.
He should have just showed up. He's like, "What are you guys doing?"
Oh, he's like, "Shit, wrong show. Never mind. Hold on." Like, what the heck was that? I'm looking for Wanda. Has any of you seen Wanda? Wanda? I don't know. She's off crying somewhere in New Jersey. We don't know. Okay.
Oh, we're derailing this pretty heavily. We're making the show better, people. That's what we're doing here. So make sure to thumbs down this episode.
To the sequence
I'm
where
just bringing
Carly
what we
knows
do,
Sharon.
man.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, Carly knows Sharon, and this is the power broker reveal because Carly's like, You're the power broker," and the other guy's like, "Oh, you're the power broker. Now I know you're the power broker, so I'm gonna blackmail you about being the power broker."
Before Sharon shows up, Carly's running around this like boiler room area. It looks like a boiler room. And they spend a good amount of time just kind of like running around this boiler room where Falcon comes around the corner and it's just a silhouette with red background, and I'm sitting there going, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Like, it looks like a scene straight out of Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Like, every time that she's running away all scared and stuff, and then everybody just kind of shows up. Oh, I'm ominous and a silhouette.
There's a lot of those shots this scene, yes.
Yeah. And then Power Broker Sharon comes up. Which, by the way, did you guys know that you could pretty much take care of super soldiers with a bullet?
Of course.
Like, wouldn't that have made things a lot easier in this show earlier on? Okay, please.
But they don't kill all the time, so, you know.
And so this is where there's the shots. And so the Sharon shoots the one guy and Carly shoots Sharon. And we hear the 2 gunshots. And then this is the point where Sam does his patented, "Let's talk."
Yep.
After all these things you've done, Carly, and every time you've ignored my advances to talk, let's try that again.
You can't run away this time.
Sam, I don't want to fight you.
Oh,
and then this is the sequence where Carly yells, "Stay down." And Sam could have said, "I can do this all day." And he says no. And I was like, man, you set it up perfectly.
Yes.
That would have been a disservice, though. I don't know if the fans.
Yeah, fans
like me,
would have raged. Yeah. Oh my God.
Really?
I can appreciate it, but
Clever.
at the same time, it's like he's Captain America, but he's doing it his way, kind of thing. That's the way I kind of took it too.
I did too.
Yeah.
I took it as a lost opportunity because saying no is not a line at all.
He could have said a better line, but I would not have had him
yeah.
say Steve Rogers' line. That would
could have come up with a more iconic line.
Yeah, there you go. A different.
No is his line.
Yep,
No,
that's
Just
it.
go
Now.
with no. Every time he's facing a bad guy, no.
Fight me!
Stop! No.
No.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that didn't work out too well, did it, for Carly?
Yeah.
We're not there yet because Walker and Bucky are like buds now, and they go and track down the last Flag Smashers who got out of the boiler room and now there's a whole bunch of cops. They got like 150 cops with them to report.
I forgot about that. Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah, the
of
funniest thing was they actually used their app to track these.
Yes,
Oh, what's with these apps, man?
they're the best. Whatever apps they're working, I do not have access to. They
I was
use
about
some.
to say that's Trevor's area of expertise.
It would be great to have, but they use it. And I guess it worked.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, they capture them, and then he says
Carly's
his
yelling
line.
"fight back" over and over again, and she's kicking Falcon's ass pretty good, even with all the wings and shield and all that stuff. And now this is when Falcon is kind of like down and out, but luckily Sharon, who's been shot in the midsection and was left in a completely different room, comes out of nowhere to shoot Carly twice. And Carly, to Alex's point, has been shot in this series, and she'll get over in a few hours. These two particular shots in the midsection kill her.
Maybe she knew her weak points. She's like, I know exactly where they are.
Your Achilles heel.
Right here.
Pew pew.
And then we get to the absolute worst part of this entire series and the definer of why Carly sucks and why the writers suck and why this show could have done so much better. She literally is in Falcon's arms and she says, "I'm sorry."
What?
The "I'm sorry" where she wouldn't talk to Falcon about what she's doing. She's completely 100% on her purpose. She's said that I'm going to die for this purpose. Our movement will live on beyond any of our individuals. I'm sorry. There's no basis for her to say "I'm sorry" right there.
Yeah, it was weird. She could have said something like, "It's bigger than me," or something.
I'm sorry means like she
Yes.
apologizes for all of her actions,
Right.
and that she was wrong. And how did she come to that realization by Sharon shooting her?
She could,
Doesn't make
and
sense
she
to me.
literally could have said something like, "I died doing what I believed in." At
Right,
least
like,
I
was
died
trying to
doing what
do
I
the right
believed in.
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
at least I died doing what I believe. Something to push
Yeah.
him to say his
Something that
speech.
would have stood out as iconic and
Right.
made it worth the death.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But now you're dead.
And so this is the fun sequence where Falcon decides to carry out Carly's dead body and leave Sharon bleeding out down in the boiler
Sharon.
room.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Angel
okay.
was carrying Jesus, or at least a martyr. That's what this
They're
was.
much better.
So much Bible in this.
Yes. It was a
And so
cool
now
look.
Sam gives his speech, and so this is literally all the people of this, GPC. He's like this one senator guy. So I don't know any government that I've ever lived through in my 32 years in life where this one random senator, I don't know what state he's from, leads entire things. Like this should be a presidential decision at the very least, or it should certainly not one senator represents the United States in a global program.
But here we are.
Yes, and so he tells the senator what's what and said that I've gone through all kinds of stuff. How is it like to be helpless? Your ideas are stupid. We need to come up with something better. I don't know what that better is, but I know that your idea sucks and we need a better idea. So deal with that. I'm leaving.
Mic drop. I'm out. Clean up this mess. Peons.
Anybody got anything on that? Because
The only sequence I thought of where he's like, I wish I was in the room where it happens. And all I could think of was Hamilton. The entire rest of while he was talking.
There you go. Yeah.
well, I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, what government officials actually, after all these people are dying, after all this stuff has happened, who's actually going to sit there and get lectured on? Like, most of those guys are already long gone at this point.
Yeah, probably. In real life, for sure.
In real life, they're in their limos already heading somewhere else
Cardio.
to their underground.
Exactly. They're secret bunkers.
Yeah. And so they show the senator's face a few times. And while he's giving this whole speech, it should be pretty much camera on Falcon or Sam. And they transition over to Walker's face. They transition to the senator's face. They transition to Bucky's face. I think we see his mouth move for these words like less than 30 seconds of this 2-minute speech. It's weird.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to show how it hits everybody emotionally. That's why they did that. Yeah.
I felt so much with Sebastian Stan's different look for this one versus
It's
how
the
he
same
looks the
look
rest of the
Yes, yeah.
season.
Sorry, I got nothing here, man. What are your thoughts, Ryan? You have anything?
Kind of echoing off of what Trevor was saying. They really should have made the focus more on Sam and what he was talking about. But I see where Dan's coming from with it as well, where while Sam is explaining his thoughts about what they should be doing to move forward and, remedy the situation, if you look at it in that respect, it was more like looking at everybody's reaction and how they were taking what Sam was saying. And so, like with all of us, while you may say one thing, your facial reactions and your tics and your social things that you do really shows to how much you're paying attention and understanding the situation, I think.
Right, and they're also trying to show what these people are responding to the new Captain America as. It's like this is their first time really, seeing the new Captain America, and what does he stand for? What is he saying? Like, okay, this is who this person is. That's why they're painted to the faces. Yeah, I think it could have used a lot more on him though. It could have been like Independence Day,
I do feel like it was smart cutting to like Ezekiel and whatnot.
Yeah,
maybe not as many.
I just feel like they got too much. Like maybe even Bucky might have got more screen time in this sequence than Sam.
Yeah.
That's all that was weird.
It really was a pretty long speech, to be honest with you. Like it felt like it was
big scene. It was a long scene. Yeah.
And he didn't have an answer either when the senator said, "What do we do with the half of the population that came back and are now homeless?" And he's like, "I'm going to continue where I was and act like you didn't say anything." Because the writers still don't have an answer for that. They don't have an answer for Carly's position for that. They don't have an answer for Falcon taking on Carly's mantle. I don't have an answer for that. And the writers are like,
we don't either. You take care of it. You can do better. So I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, it is a very sensitive subject if you place it into real life as well, right?
Exactly.
It is a very sensitive subject. Yeah,
so
and Disney doesn't want that pill to swallow. With people coming and fighting them and throwing rocks and all that.
Of course. But anyways,
throwing
speech
rocks
over.
At
Let's
Mickey
move
Mouse.
on.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is where the speech is over. And the senator would be like cool and continue exactly what he was doing, but
yeah, he's like,
good speech, bro.
Yeah.
GPC starts tomorrow.
Yep. All right, let's go. Nice.
And this is where now they're loading in the flag smashers into prison, and the one guy is like, one flag, one people, and Zemo's butler decides to blow them up.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, bam.
I don't know if he decides to blow him up. I think that that had to have been Zemo, right? It
was planned.
Yeah, totally.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I'd
like to hear it.
Continue on, though. We'll continue on. Oh, and you know what? It's going to happen anyways because it's coming up in sequence, but I do think that it is Madam Hydra behind it. Because remember, she has the scene where she says, was it me? Or was it? I
don't think she's Madam Hydra, though, but we can get to that after. And
she might not. Whoever her character ends up being in this, because obviously I think they're probably going to be done with Hydra, so you're right. She might not end up being, but her character, I think, may have been the one behind it. Agreed. I think she's helping out Zemo in that way. And like, you can't do anything because you're behind bars, so I'll take care of it for you. I think she's amassing. She's amassing her super team.
Yeah, she's she shows up in the next scene and she says things are about to get weird. That was my takeaway from her whole thing.
Like, okay. I don't know what that means. I was kind of confused by that line.
My thoughts are they're doing the anti-hero thing.
And that's my only guess. Yeah,
that's Thunderbolts. That's where my assumption is where this is kind of moving towards. So they've kind of planted seeds. Well, Thunderbolts has been teased for a while, right? General Thunderbolt Ross has been in many, many, many different movies. So I'm waiting for the day he
wasn't in this show. Like,
yeah, that would have been the cameo. Like even for just like 2 seconds, that would have just like been the jaw dropper.
Solidified it. Yeah, it would have been like, oh, we are doing this. Yeah. Awesome. Oh well. But
Thunderbolt Ross is his name?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. He's been
Thaddeus Ross. William Hurt so far.
Oh yeah, okay. Gotcha.
So that would have been cool. Now my only issue with this scene, because I love his suit, is that the way they filmed it, you couldn't tell, at least on my screen,
Yeah.
that it was black. I was like,
Not at all.
oh, it's black. I thought it was just like dark blue because the way he was like in the shadow. I'm like, okay.
Well, and the
what-
only way that we know is because he actually said, "Well, it's black."
right.
Mhm.
He had to say it. I'm like,
Yeah.
light scene better. What are you doing? I know you're trying to make it moody and stuff, but that was a bad reveal. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Speaking
so
of bad
forced.
reveals, I mean,
Yeah.
when she says you're now U.S. agent, it was
Yes.
almost as stupid as Revenge of the Sith when Emperor Palpatine says you are now Darth Vader. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need stupid declaring lines like that. It's idiotic. It doesn't help the fans. It doesn't help people who don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it could have been used better, like as a throwaway line where you don't even realize it sometimes, like in the heat of battle or something. I don't know. Instead of like right then and there.
Yeah.
It was like,
Again,
hey, fans, wink at the
good
camera.
example of poor writing
Yeah.
or forced.
Oh,
Forced.
Force
That's a lot of this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of force writing in this show, especially this episode.
That's what's so sad because, like, Dwayne brought it up, Ryan, you brought it up. There's Easter eggs that are promising other things,
Right.
but then they force other parts of the show, and it's like they're at odds with each other. Oh, look at these cool little asides we have in the background, but what's actually happened in the story, we have to smack you in the face with.
Right. Like this like everything we're hinting at is going to be cool, but the show itself isn't. Like let the show be cool. Forget about the Easter eggs.
Yeah, and you would
Develop a
think
good
that
show.
because this isn't a movie where like you expect everybody to be at the theater watching it, and this is on your
Mhm.
Disney Plus series, where you don't have to be as forward. I mean, they allowed cussing in this, right? And it was a lot more
Right.
violent than you would expect an Avengers film to be. You would think they wouldn't have to have said, "Oh, we need a U.S. agent," like and
Right.
force that kind of thing. So I agree, 100%.
Or-
I was just like, it
No, that's Captain
like-
America. Like, yeah, we know. Okay.
it saddens the scene, and it's just like it makes it soft.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
It'll be
like how
interest-
excited he was.
Yeah, I know it's fun. I love John Walker.
He got his new cosplay outfit. What do you expect?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, yeah, hell yeah, it's like a real one now. It's great.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
Good times.
And so now we have to wrap up some storylines. So Bucky goes to the old Asian guy and he tells him that he murdered his son. And this was just weird that they had the super shaky camera. Don't know if the guy filming today had a bad day. He had a bunch of coffee. Or he just had like Red Bull, but it's like.
I have a feeling this was shot the same time as the first episode because it had that same camera movements and close-ups and stuff. So I think the same DP worked that scene, and that's why you're getting those weird shaky cam moments. I saw that too, and I did not like that scene. I was like, come on, this is supposed to be
It's
a really
weird on a
cool
close-up.
scene.
Yeah.
Like, stop it. Oh well, yeah, because it could have been live. I think it should have been longer, and less shaky. You know, like
Yeah.
go into it. Go back to the restaurant with him at least. Like, you know.
Well, it's just
Now,
crazy.
he
that,
also
like,
gets
we
to
just-
walk past the bar too and just acknowledge the bartender.
It's just crazy that it was. I mean, the last time we saw that guy was episode 1.
Mhm.
Like, we just went 6 weeks without seeing this dude, and I mean, I don't know. Are we expected to know exactly who he is right away? Because honestly, if I didn't listen to you guys' episode, Ryan, I probably would have forgotten who this guy was.
Oh, Mr. Nakajima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even his scene in the first episode was so small. Granted, it was a bigger storyline for Bucky, but they rushed past that in the first
Yeah, it
episode
was-
so fast that like
Yeah, they didn't give a lot of depth to the understanding about why Bucky befriends him. And
right,
because of the guilt, right?
of course.
Right.
I will say this though, because this is something that we've talked about recently with the whole especially being of Japanese and Asian ancestry. We talked about this in the AAPI conversation we had a few weeks ago. I like the fact that both of the characters here were represented properly. So Mr. Nakajima is played by a Japanese man, and the bartender, who's also Japanese, is played by a Japanese woman. I think it's important, and no matter
Mhm.
what your race is, and I know, I'm sorry, this is deviating from our conversation today, but I do feel it's important. If you're of German ancestry and the character is of German ancestry, I would like the fact that a German played the role, or an Italian, or a Russian, etc. It pays homage to the proper lineage of that person. right?
Yeah, I believe representation matters, and I think
Yeah.
that's why I wanted more time with them. It's like,
Yeah.
show me more of that.
Yeah.
It means a lot to everybody.
Yep.
And they just rushed through it. Like,
Agreed.
that could have been the show. Like that, all this stuff could be the show, and it wasn't. It was like all
Yeah,
this
you could
other
have had a Winter Soldier
nonsense.
show where he literally connects with these people. You have like a
Right.
whole episode
That would have been
dedicated,
so intriguing.
yeah, to
Yeah.
different
And then
people.
some
he's
might
getting-
fight back. Some might be like really violent, be angry. It's like that
Yeah.
would be interesting conflict. Instead, we kind of rush through some stuff.
Right.
Like,
So if they
anyway,
had it
yeah.
like that, 12 episodes, I think it would have been, or at least 9. I think
Right.
that would have been doable. But okay, Alex is crazy.
Alex.
But
You
if-
can't
if
have
we-
9 of these.
What if we had
right.
an episode like this where it dives and maybe like a quarter of that episode dives into the relationship and how he formed this relationship with Mr. Nakajima?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
how he ended up finding him, why they became friends and all that. And give a little bit more depth to the story.
Yeah,
Fully
give me a
agree
lot
with that.
more,
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Fully
Because him
agree.
just saying, "Oh, it's not Wednesday." We could have a whole setup of how they had plans for Wednesdays, and you
Yeah.
could show
Right.
different
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
How did the bro date
Oh.
Wednesday start?
Right.
Well, and hold on, it was like when he says, "Oh, it's not Wednesday." How long did everything happen? Was it only a week that all this has happened in between?
That's what I'm thinking.
Because it's not like he went, "Wow, I haven't seen you in a while."
Yeah. And see,
Right.
that's where it gives context to what I was talking about earlier, where we're not given any context of time within the show. We don't know when it is that they first encountered the Flag Smashers on the freeway, on the trucks,
Right.
versus when the show ends.
Yeah, they've traveled the world in this show, and they've done it in
Right.
like what, a few days? Maybe?
I
don't know.
guess so.
But that's what they make it try to seem like.
Yeah.
Especially because they're free agents, so they don't have government backing on transportation.
No. They gotta
But-
figure that out.
But that's the weird part is they're still ranked officials. Bucky is still Sergeant Bucky.
They called him Mr. Barnes way too many times, and they let him through way too many barricades.
Right. Exactly. That's what doesn't make
Uh,
sense.
Well, the guy that led him through the barricade in the final episode that acknowledged him as Sergeant Barnes, I feel like that was the guy paying respect to the fact that, Bucky earned his stripes in the military.
Right.
the
No,
That's
I
why
get that, but
stands
it
what he
seemed like a
sacrificed,
few
yeah.
other people called him Mr. Barnes just
Yeah.
on site.
And he had access to everything.
He had way too
Everything,
much
yep.
access.
So maybe it's because he's an Avenger. Who knows?
Mm.
Maybe they
Is
got
everyone an Avenger?
Hard.
Was he
Maybe.
ever really an officially an Avenger?
Yeah, he wasn't knighted the way Spider-Man was. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like Falcon has to
What's
go
the-
train at Avenger campus at the end. Like, Cap
Yeah.
is like, "Hey, new recruits."
True. I don't know, man.
I should watch some of these movies.
You really should.
Eh.
You
Alex.
will rewatch them and we can talk theory about it.
Oh God. Yeah.
What's
So
funny about
I'll
the
see in
movies,
about
though, 'cause-
4 years, man.
No, this show it's like the movies. Not all the movies are great.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So it happens.
You're gonna get a miss.
Cool.
And so this is when he goes back to Isaiah. So Sam goes back to see Isaiah, and they have a conversation. And Sam says, "We built this country, and so no one's going to tell me I can't fight for it." And this was a good sequence. All the Isaiah sequences were relatively good in this series, and they could have
Usually
done
are.
more with that character and
Once
that
again.
conversation.
Yep. Yeah.
Totally.
I am glad they went this route. I kind of figured they would, like they did in the comics. They pay respect to him. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad they ended it that way. So,
Yeah, the
alright,
exhibit at the Cat Museum.
I'll give you
was good.
this. I'll give
Yeah.
you this. Alright.
I even got a little bit of goosebumps when he saw the exhibit for the first time.
That was a great moment.
Whoa,
Good
yep.
acting by his point too.
Oh, it was
Isaiah
emotional.
was really good.
Yeah.
To see him shaking and like hugging Sam and crying, that's very
Mhm.
emotional.
Yeah. And he got to be
I
there
know
with the
that
kids.
hasn't
I
shown
know
it
that
at
the
all.
community needed that.
Right.
It's important. Yep.
And so now we're at a party in Louisiana, and the two people who hate each other, we get to see them as friends as the last sequence. I still don't know why that hate each other sequence. It ruined
Dude.
their whole relationship in this show.
It bothered me
So weird.
so much.
I never
Yeah,
want to see
yeah.
you again as soon as this is over.
Never see you again.
They
Party
spent like
time!
a week together fighting guys, and now we're best buds.
Yeah, it was a clunky story arc, that's for sure.
It's the coming of
Fair,
age
fair.
tale between two of the guys, right? It's like going back to Civil War. Can you move up your chair? No.
Sure, but they also kind of played it up too much to the point where it's like, I'm never gonna see you again. Like, all right, that's a little too much. You know, like
Yeah.
the goof kind of stuff is fine, but all right.
Yeah, if they didn't hammer it over the head so hard about how much they hated each other and honestly, it was just that one episode where they pretty much just beat each other down of how much they didn't like each other.
And the weird thing is,
yeah, they went too far, and that was the problem.
right? The weird thing is that their whole hatred dynamic was because of their admiration for Captain America when he was still around.
Mhm.
Now that he's no longer here, like who are they proving themselves to? Like they don't have that anymore, so they shouldn't hate each other. Like they already
I don't
did
think
them
it was
seeing
so much like a dual hatred. It was more like because I think it was the first episode where Bucky's meeting with the therapist and she's asking, "Have you spoken to Sam?"
Mhm.
And Bucky acknowledges that Sam had called him, but he never called him back. So I think it was more like Bucky didn't want to get along with Sam because of this whole issue with the shield. He gave it
It's
up.
the second conversation with the therapist.
Yeah.
That's the one where they say they hate each other. They have their
Right.
legs crossed, and as soon as this is over, I never want to see you again. You don't say that jokingly. You don't say that to someone you kind of dislike.
Right.
It's not
yeah,
a
that's what it
passive
does, like-
throwaway line.
right.
But it also gets hashed out a little bit with Bucky saying that it's like because Cap trusted Sam with the shield and he gave it up, he made it question like does that mean Cap questioned everything and did he second guess me? Right.
I feel
Right,
like
right.
And that's where I
we
feel like it started going
linger
down
on
that path.
this.
Yeah.
We linger on this every episode.
Well, it's just
We
because
always
I think it was the phrasing of the line. Like, I know what they're
Right.
getting at. Like, we want to build the relationship, so we have to get it down. But they didn't have to go down to rock bottom. They went
Yeah.
too far on breaking their dynamic to try to build it back up. They weren't
Yeah,
that
that's-
Hate
bad
is a
ever.
strong word, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
I know Sully would agree with that. He always says, I don't like to use the word hate. It is a very
Yeah.
strong word.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
It
so
is.
they were good buds though. At the end, we're happy. We're partying in Louisiana. People are taking
And it's all
pictures with the new
over.
Captain America. And then the title credit changes from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yep. I thought that was nice.
Would have been nice to see Captain America and Bucky, or the White
Yes,
Wolf.
It
Yeah.
would have been nice to change it from Winter Soldier because he
It's like,
developed.
yeah, he's
they're
no
trying to
longer
develop
that.
him too.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. That's weird. That's right. I'm
Because
glad. I'm glad he got the
he
Captain America.
tells him that the Winter Soldier killed him, and then I'm the Winter Soldier. He doesn't say I killed him. He never. It's weird how he changes the pronouns there.
Yeah, the pronoun game.
Yeah. But then there's a bonus scene, and it's back on
Yay.
Sharon Carter.
Yay!
She's fully pardoned, and now she can get her old job back.
Pardon your interruption. What? Yay! She's in the government now.
Hooray!
Yay!
And
All
who is
right.
she
Like Ryan's
talking to
angle
on the
that it was
phone?
Oscorp much more than she's just talking to some other random person.
No,
I don't know if she's talking to somebody at Oscorp. It might
somebody
be somebody
else.
back in Madripoor. I just think a lot of this might point towards Oscorp in a way.
Yeah, it's very MCU of them to do that. There's somebody else out there. It could be Kingpin. It could be Oscorp. It could be who knows.
Because there's
See, and I
got to be
kept
a
thinking
benefactor.
Kingpin too. When they kept talking about the power broker, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, that seems like Kingpin. That sounds like a Kingpin type of thing.
Would have been better. That's
Wilson
it.
Fisk is a really good kingpin. I wouldn't. Or
Yeah.
Vincent
Wilson
D'Onofrio was a really
Fisk
good.
is-
Wilson
yeah.
Fisk.
That's great.
I would
Yes, but
totally
he's a
bring
good
him
actor.
back.
Yes, please.
If they're
Sometime.
bringing back Doc Ock or the same guy,
Yeah.
Oh
If you're
yeah.
gonna bring back him, at least bring back a decent ass. Another actor that's in, the movies and TV shows.
you don't like.
Yeah, there's
Alfred
certain
Medina?
people that have been in the roles before. They fit the role.
Jonah Jameson.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Nobody
Dude.
else can play that role.
Nobody else can play that role. He's perfect.
And there you go.
Awesome.
Oh, that's the
So-
series, guys.
Well,
That's
okay,
the
so
series.
as a whole, what did you guys think? If you were to give it an A through F rating right now, after just watching it, how do you guys feel?
I would give it a B+.
B plus. God,
Okay.
that's high.
I give it a C
I'm the
minus.
optimist, right? I'm
Oh,
going
that
to be
was
the
what I was
Captain
gonna
America
say.
and the chipper
'Cause-
one here.
Yeah, like C minus is a passing grade, but it's not very good.
See, I was gonna say C minus, but I think I liked it more than you just a little bit, so I'm gonna say C, a solid C, right down the middle. It wasn't the worst that the MCU has done, but it's nowhere near the best.
I am supposed to be the optimist in our show, and I'm giving this a solid D.
Wow.
Dang.
So
I
much for
mean, from my
optimist.
my ultimate takeaway is that if we weren't doing the podcast, I would have stopped after episode 2.
I would have
Because usually
stopped
I
after
give shows
way
2
down.
episodes, no matter the pedigree, and I gave it 2 episodes and I was not interested.
I did that with Iron Man too. I was like, this is a dumb movie. I'm turning it off. I never finished it to this day. I won't finish it. It's too dumb.
Wait, the
That
first
movie's
one?
atrocious.
Where's my
Iron Man
bird?
No. Second,
I said Iron Man.
second one.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah,
is.
Scarlett
it is
Johansson
extra
shows up
cheesy.
with that terrible wig, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, I agree.
Anyways.
I
Two
love
and three are
Sam
not that good.
Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell, so
I like him
feel
too,
like
but he's in so many bad movies.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched one of his bad movies on this show. So
wait, which one?
The new Poltergeist.
Oh, that's right. That was so
Yeah.
fun.
well, I feel so
That is
bad
kinda
for
rough.
him.
That's a
That
rough
was
one.
our first movie review.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my take. C, solid C.
So after WandaVision, I was excited for kind of what Marvel's doing. I was a little disappointed that it didn't pay off anything and it was taken at face value. But I was
False.
excited about Doctor Strange and all that kind of good stuff. And I was like, I don't know about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It seems like it's going to be just like taken down in the mysticism, like it's going to be more gritty and real, but it never really got to that gritty realism that I hoped for. It wasn't as dark as I think I wanted it to be, and it's left me not excited. Like I want Loki to be good, but I'm like, oh, I don't even know if it can be now. Like, does Marvel have a different standard for their TV shows? Because I didn't think about that until Dwayne last week said, oh, it's TV. From my perspective, TV is the biggest thing right now.
Right.
Especially over the past year, the movie theaters are floundering. They don't know how they're going to rebound or do anything in terms of film.
What's the last good
HBO's
movie I've
changing.
seen? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TV is where
Best
the money's
TV
at right
shows,
now.
Many TV shows. I've watched so many great TV shows and not many good movies.
So it was a weird thing to say. And does Marvel really have that perspective that it's just TV? Because that seems like a 1990s perspective.
Right. God, I hope not.
So I don't even know if I'm excited for, because I know I'm not excited for Black Widow or the Eternals. Though shout out to winning the best director. The director of Eternals won the Academy Award for Best Director.
Yeah.
Here's a question then. Being
Yeah.
that everything falls under Disney, if you were to compare Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision as, like, say, we'll aggregate them together and group them as one type of thing, and you compare that to, say, like Mandalorian, because they're both episodic type of things. They're both by Disney, of course, different heads of what's going on here. Do you think Disney has a bigger plan for what's going on here? Because that's why I'm giving it a B+, because I'm optimistic about what they're dropping, laying the framework for other things to come down the line.
I definitely think that there's a bigger picture for the TV thing, like the way that they're doing with Mandalorian. My problem is that the actual episodes themselves fall flat.
They do.
In this series. That's my concern. Yeah, I do think there's a bigger picture that's going to pay off and kind of be fun in the long run. But when you're looking at it like the way we are, through a microscope, episode by episode, you're seeing a lot of the, flaws.
Well, it's like the 23 movies of the MCU. They all have Easter eggs, but some of the worst ones have some of the best Easter eggs.
Exactly. Sadly.
It's true.
Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, no kidding. That is the bottom of the list. That was scraping the barrel right there as a movie.
I never
It
saw
has
it.
Easter eggs. Yeah.
But it did. Yeah, it had some really important Easter eggs that paid off in Endgame.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
it sucks, though. It sucks that you have to sit through those
if
movies.
you're rewatching all the movies, it's not, skip Thor Dark World. And it's like, well, then
But you can't, though,
one of the, it's like so, you got to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It sets this up, but you got to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier to get there.
But you got to sit through this terrible dialogue and Carly
Yeah.
Morgenthau.
So, and I wonder, is this show, do you think that this show could have, or who knows, if this show is actually better if you were to watch it, like binge watch it, rather than watch it week by week to where you have time to dissect every episode?
I think binge watching, you'd overlook some of the flaws.
Possibly.
Probably, yeah, because you would probably forget and ignore some of the boring stuff.
At the end, you'd remember Falcon looks super sweet with his shield and new wings, and you'd
you
kind
would
of gloss over
yeah.
how annoying Carly is.
It's just like Endgame. It's the same thing. You have like all these great moments, but there's a bunch of filler that just falls flat, where people are just staring at each other for like 5 hours in mourning. So, but you forget about that by the end because you get that awesome scene at the end that kicks butt. So,
But at the same time, they wouldn't have been able to give even the depth that they did with certain things within this show. Because if you're talking about like even a 3-hour movie like Endgame, it wouldn't have done this whole story justice. I don't think. Because there would have been things they would have had to like cut out and leave out.
Sure.
So it's to me, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Well, it's just TV is promising because they have more to work with, but it doesn't feel like they took advantage of all. Like 6 hours is still a lot to tell a story, and their story is not that complex. There's a terrorist group that cares about how things are coming back from the blip, and we're introducing a new Captain America, and we're trying to revitalize a past person who was an assassin. It's not that complex of a story, but they didn't really dive in as deep as they could with 6 hours to work with.
They didn't break it accordingly. It was weird how things cut from one thing to another. It wasn't cohesive, you know, even from episode
editing
to
was
episode.
the big issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it really makes you wonder what they left on the cutting room floor, and I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Just give us the Snyder cut.
That's what I said too. I would love to see that.
Or the prod cut where you just cut all the boring stuff, like I said.
And maybe not the Snyder cut, because that was still horribly, terribly and bloated. We need to cut out all the bloat from this series. So cut Sharon out of the series entirely.
Altogether.
Yeah.
And Carly.
Really, you don't really need Zemo in this series at all.
No, because he was just a straight up meme.
Yeah, you can just show him dancing real quick or something. Like, what was that, Zemo? Well, we'll never know. That might have been him dancing on that clip scene.
Make the whole show in black and white. It makes it more creative and artsy. Okay.
Awesome.
Like Marty's.
Yep.
Ryan, thanks for joining us. You want to plug your socials and everything again?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Seldomly, I'm not super active, but Asian Tony Stark, just the way it sounds, ASIANTONYSTARK. I also do stream on Twitch under the same name, typically Monday, Thursday, Saturday, usually around 6 p.m. Pacific on the weekdays, and weekends is kind of hit or miss about time, but we do a lot of Call of Duty. I also design widgets and everything, so I go through the creative process. So if you're at all interested in picking my brain and learning as I struggle, please come hang out.
That's right.
Nice.
And you guys all of your episodes for the Four Dorksmen drops on Mondays, right?
Yes, we drop them on Mondays, and as I mentioned earlier, it's Dorksmen, so DOKRSMEN.podbean.com is where you can catch us. Or, as Alex mentioned earlier, we are all part of the Cross the Streams network, so please come check us out there, crossthestreams.com. You can find information about our podcast, Secondary Heroes, Three Beers and a Mic, Movie Gap, the Dan Aykroyd podcast, and I feel like I'm missing one. Am I missing one?
There is one more. Yeah, it's the Burt Reynolds one.
There you go. That's the one.
Burt Reynolds.
Turd Ferguson.
That's right.
Nice. Well, cool. Thanks, man.
Awesome. And be sure to follow @Secondary Heroes everywhere. And maybe you guys can reach out to us and tell us, what should we talk about next? Should we talk about Loki, or should we transfer to something that's not Marvel? I have no idea. So give us some impact @Secondary Heroes on all the platforms. And if you watch this long on YouTube, be sure to tell us why you dislike it. Don't just click dislike. I want to know why.
Yeah, that's actually really
Come on, Stackies, let me know. To everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Frog out.
Adios, y'all.
Bye.